Audio Jungle.
Good day and welcome to Alena Media TV News. I am Victoria broadcasting from Canada and these are the top stories. Sudanese security arrest former member of Sovereign Council. Two protesters shot dead in Sudan at thousand rally against last year coup. UN Deputy Chief shaken by Ethiopian conflict impact on women. Somalia regional government accused anti-peace forces of attempting coup, colliding with terrorist organization to destabilize regime. Diaspora eri-tv commemorates Operation Frankly anniversary. Sudanese security arrests former member of Sovereign Council. Bringing you this and more in detail after the short break. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. Now news in detail. Sudanese security forces, Khartoum Sudanese Security Service, Sunday arrested Mohammed Al-Faqi, former member of the Sovereign Council and head of Empowerment Removal Committee. Al-Faqi arrest follows the arrest last week of two other leading members of the forces for freedom and change and Wadi Sali on ERC, former member, and Khalid Omar, Yusuf, former cabinet affairs minister, according to statement issued by the Unist Alliance Security Force, intercepted a car carrying Al-Faqi as he was heading from his home to the party premises, February 13, 2020. Khartoum Sudanese Security Sovereign, the Empowerment Removal Committee. Arrest follows the arrest last week of two other leading members of the Forces for Freedom and Change, Ahmad Sali, an ERC former member, and Khalid Omar Yusuf, former cabinet affairs minister. The former member of the Sovereign Council had been arrested together with several officials and political leaders of the Forces for Freedom and Change after the October 25, 2021 coup carried out by the head of Sovereign Council, Abdel Fattah Burhan. Both of the police and the public prosecuting office denied ordering his arrest. Al-Faqi family said in an interview with Sudan television Saturday, Al-Baham denied that the second wave of arrest was political. He stressed that it was the result of independent judicial says. He stressed that it was the result of independent judicial decision. In statement to Al Jazeera TV after the arrest, FFC leading member Yusuf Ahmad said Al-Faqi arrest confirmed that all Burhan call for consensus was inconsistent with the fact. He added that there were 145 political prisoners in the regime prison from the FFC and the Resistance Committee. Al-Baham Corp triggered pro-democracy protests that have continued for more than 3 months. UN has launched process aiming to end the stalemate and called on the military leaders to create a conducive environment for an inter-Sudan dialogue they proposed to facilitate. Moving on to the next story. Two protesters shot dead in Sudan as thousands rally against last year's coup. Sudanese security forces shot dead two protesters on Monday in crackdown on rallies against last year's military coup and the arrest of scores of pro-democracy activists, Medes said. Regular mass protests have rocked the troubled Northwest African nation since an October 25th military takeover led by Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the death on Monday take the number killed in the unrest to at least 81%. The people group declared a fragile power-sharing agreement between the army and civilians negotiated after the 2019 after of long-time autocrat Omar al-Bashir on Monday. Thousands relied on the capital Khartoum and its twin city of Abdoman, AFP reporter says, while people protests also took place in the eastern city of Port Sudan and in the western Darfur region, according to witnesses. In Khartoum, protests had begun with crowds waving national flags and carrying red balloons as the rallies coincided with the Valentine's Day. Some shouted slogans demanding the authorities release activists who had been arrested, while others carried pictures of protesters killed. They are demanding the release of resistance committee members and politicians who were unjustly arrested, and some of whom are facing fabricated charges. Protester Khalid Mohammed told AFP, but Ashkraf tried to approach the presidential palace. Security forces fired volleys of tear gas canisters. One protester was killed after he was shot in the neck and chest by live round by Corps Force in Khartoum, the Independent Central Committee of Sudan doctor says. Another protester was later killed in Omdurman after being struck by live bullet to the left shoulder, which penetrated the chest. The committee said Sudanese police says in a statement that at least 102 police were severely wounded, while some suffered a gunshot to the foot. It also noted that protesters have smashed the front of the parliament building, set a fire near an adjacent gas stations, and damaged several vehicles and a mosque on Omdurman. Damage was also reported to several parts of the Ministry of Youth and Sport in the city, and items belonging to the security guards were looted. It says, adding that police only exercised reasonable, legitimate force in response. While Sudanese forces have repeatedly denied opening fire on protesters, Human Rights Watch has quoted witnesses detailing how the security forces have used both live ammunition and tear gas canisters directly at crowds, a tactic that can be deadly at close quarters. The authorities have also arrested scores of activists accused of belonging to the resistance committees that have been instrumental in organizing protests. The number of people detained arbitrarily and without criminal charges has exceeded 100, the Sudanese Professionals Association says Monday. In Khartoum, Subah prison detainees launched a hunger strike to protest against prison conditions, the Central Committee of Sudan doctor says. Some have been detained without facing charges and others still await investigations. The media said in a statement on Sunday authorities arrested Mohammed Al-Faqi, a civilian former member of the ruling Sovereign Council, which led the country under the now-state 2019 power-sharing agreement last week. Authorities arrested ex-minister Khalid Omar Youssef and Waqdi Salah, the spokesman of Sudan's main civilian bloc, the Forces for Freedom and Change. The October military power grab, the latest coup in Sudan since its independence, has sparked widespread international condemnation and positive measures, but authorities have shown little inclination to compromise. On Monday, Bahan met the Emirati ambassador to Sudan, who handed him an official invitation from President Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan to visit the United Arab Emirates, according to an official statement by Sudan Sovereign Council. Moving on to the other story, UN Deputy Chief shaken by Ethiopia conflict impact on women. UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed said Friday that women had faced unimaginable horrors in conflict-torn regions of Ethiopia. Mohammed became the highest-ranking UN official to visit Ethiopia since the government launched an offensive against the militants in Tigray region in 2020. The UN number was speaking to reporters in New York a day after returning from the East African nation. During her 5-day trip, she visited the Tigray, Amhara, Afar, and Somalia regions in Ethiopia. She met Tigray leaders and Ethiopia Prime Minister and President Mohammed says she was left near tears after listening to the account of rape from Ethiopian women. Ethiopian women writ large were affected in a way that it is unimaginable, Mohammed said. In your worst nightmare, you cannot imagine what has happened to the women in Ethiopia. She spoke to women who recalled their trauma, including being raped in front of their children. Mohammed met a woman in Tigray who had been gang raped over and over again. That woman had given birth to a son and was cast away from her family and society. There is everyone to blame for the autocracy, Mohammed says, adding that it's unacceptable that one human being would do that to another without a shadow of doubt. Justice and accountability have to be had, she said. The warring parties cannot achieve any lasting peace without reconciliation and being held to account for the atrocities across the country. Ethiopia erupted into the war in November 2020 after months of political tension between the Ethiopian government and Tigrayan fighters. The conflict has changed thousands of lives and pushed hundreds of thousands to famine. Red groups have accused fighters on all sides of widespread sexual violation. Now moving on to the story from Ethiopia, Somalia government accuses anti-peace forces or attempting colliding with terrorist organization to destabilize region. Addis Ababa following report of deployment of federal security forces in Jijiga, capital of Somalia region state, the regional government released a statement accusing what is described as anti-peace forces of attempting to overthrow the regional government by force and colliding with terrorist organizations to destabilize the region. The statement released on 13 February discussed the effort the regional state government was expecting to address the drought that is ravaging different parts of the region. It said that 800 million birds has been allocated for response since the beginning of the drought to assist people and livestock. At the same time, the regional government has focused on alleviating the drought by providing a variety of nutrients, fodder and water as well as medicines to prevent diseases. However, the statement admits given the scale and extent of the drought, it was not enough. Many local and international media outlets have been covering the drought in East Africa since the beginning of the drought. It says, adding that among those who oversaw our effort are President Shaliwak Zwendi, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed, and many others, all of whom praised the regional government effort to reverse the drought. Over the period of last week alone, the regional government has provided 30,000 quintals of nutritious food and cereals to 46 workers, providing assistance to more than 70,351 households in 10 drought-affected areas. In addition, 200 million worth of food items have been distributed to more than 38,978 households, the statement says. Regardless of these efforts by the regional government, it said that anti-peace forces were attempting to overthrow the elected government. Anti-peace forces have been plotting to overthrow the regional government. They tried to disrupt the peace by galvanizing the people, destabilizing the region and seizing power by force. The Prosperity Party was elected in the region in the last general election, the statement says, and accused the unidentified force of attempting to reverse the result of the elections. In the midst of the ongoing effort of the Somalia regional state government and people to reverse the drought, these forces plotted to destabilize the region, and we call on all Ethiopians to help us restore order. Addressing regional security forces and media, the statement read, we call on our security forces who are working tirelessly for peace in the region to reaffirm their commitment to the peace and stability of our region, which has been assured mainly by your effort and strength. They call on the media to combat this attempt to spread disinformation propagated by those who wish to destabilize the region. It also called on continued support from investors, members of the Ethio-Somalia diaspora and business community, humanitarian organizations, and the people of the region. We reiterate that we will work with our humanitarian actors to address the natural disaster, and we repeat that the Somalia regional state government would take measures against those who use the disaster for their political agenda. This comes amid reports of fraction within the ruling Prosperity Party branch in the region and in backdrop of continued criticism by the region's opposition and regional government response to the drought. In a joint statement released on February, the Ugandan National Liberation Front and Congress of Somalia calls a newly formed opposition group says that the current situation of the region, which leaves millions to deal with crippling famine, hunger, and malnutrition, proves the inability of the government to act responsibly, acknowledge the extent of the problem, and invest in the right areas and programs. The joint statement further accused the regional government that although the drought has already caused significant loss of human lives, including children, and destroyed assets and livelihoods, the measures employed so far by the federal and local government are not only ineffective to deliver the life-saving services, but have exposed the carelessness and sloppiness of the state, instead of drawing attention to the sense of urgency needed in tackling the drought. The Ethiopian federal leaders minimize the critical situation and danger in the Somalia people are facing in regard to the drought when they visit the Somalian state. This is where I end the news on Alena Media TV. I am Victoria, and thanks for watching.